Hey guys, thanks so much for joining. Good morning, all. And today's session is kickstarting with .NET 8 Aspire. Let me share my screen real quick so that we can get going. So I'll share my screen. Hope everybody is able to see my screen. I will share a couple of the links which is already there, but still I would like to share it from here. So it will be handy. That's one. It's my repo, and this is the one which is the markdown for today's session. So it has got everything inside that, where you will be able to go grab it, where the source code is there, everything. Okay. So kickstart your journey with .NET 8 Aspire. The intention is to create a series of sessions on Aspire. So we'll be following the official documentation to go over and learn .NET Aspire. I am sticking to .NET 8. .NET 8 is about to release, but I'm sticking to .NET 8 just because it's a uh, long-term release. Right. We can switch to .NET 10. So I'm just as of now, I'm sticking to .NET 8. .NET 10 will be around November 2025. So let's stick to .NET 8 for the time being. And what is that we are going to do today? I mean, this will be a series. It's not like one of the session and we'll um, call it a done and dusted thing. No, we'll do a series. And I'm still a learner. Apologize if I do any mistake. And you can see what is that we are going to do. We'll discuss about .NET Aspire overview, setup and tooling, and build Aspire solution. We'll take a baby step approach because I have updated this workload based on the setup. I mean, I have everything, but I for some reason I just executed this. Hope this will be completed before we come to the hands-on session and it will not trouble us. I'm hoping. Let's see how it goes. And first, what we will do is we'll start with a simple project, and then we'll try adding Web API. We'll create a .NET Aspire project just with Web API, just to understand that how it looks. Okay, and then we'll understand the orchestration, service default, launch profiles. Then we'll start with another ASP.NET solution. So in this, we'll have two things. We will have Web API and front end. So then we'll go and look at it, the service defaults, because previously it's just a web API. That means it itself is a cloud native solution, which has got only one guy in the mix. Now here in bulleted point 8 is we have two guys in mix. We have web API and front end. They need to speak to each other. Now we need to know about the service discovery, how front end is discovering web API on local or wherever we deploy. How does it know that? Where should it go and hit it? Those things. And another thing is after that we will have web API, Blazor Frontend, as well as cache. So when we use this Redis cache, we will be having the Docker container also. Looks like I have. Did I mention dashboard somewhere here? I don't see the dashboard. Let's see that I have missed. I think so, but we will do that dashboard also. So if you click on the source code link, you will find another repo where we'll create all these things here in this. So you will have everything once you go to this demo script. You will have the demo script, how we are going step by step, and also the source code for whatever we are discussing in today's session. So please fasten your seatbelt, and that's what we discussed about the big picture. What is this? It's like one of a session or it's a series of sessions. Let's try doing series of sessions. Okay, and let's discuss about the .NET 8 aspect. In the meanwhile, I'll keep it up. And I don't know why did I execute this command. It's taking a lot of time, but I think it should be okay. So I've given all the links. So I didn't prepare copy paste the things from the dashboard overview. I've given it, but I forgot to put it here because I remember I forgot to put it. I think couple of sessions. Yeah, I have it here. I'll update the notes also. So I'm sticking to the official documentation instead of me copy pasting one or two lines here and discussing about this. We'll go to the official documentation and we'll discuss. So this is the first session, so it will be a little bit a mix of documentation and hands-on. But if you see that it is purely the heavy on demo sessions. So let's come back to the .NET 8 Aspire overview. So let's see this here. It's an opinionated cloud-ready stack to build observable, production-ready distributed application. Okay, so when you want to build a distributed application, this is the one of the competitive uh, framework, which is .NET Aspire, and you can see that everything is coming as part of the NuGet package. All the concerns has been wrapped up, and when we call it as a distributed, what happens is our applications might go and get deployed in different nodes. That way, it is the computational resources are getting fully utilized, and the communication and everything is taken care. Like if you see, such nodes must communicate over network boundaries to deliver response to the users. So everything is taken care here. So why .NET Aspire is you'll get orchestration and you'll get integration and tooling. So when we come and see about the orchestration is like you have multiple applications. I mean, this is the application which will be do this plus something will do as a part of the third demo. Okay, as part of the third demo, we'll be doing that. And in that, what will happen is when we say orchestration means you'll create one or two projects inside the solution and they have to communicate. So primary focus is how do you simplify the communication, interconnection, configuration, and interconnection. And you see that the key thing is discovery. How do you discover that? Or how do you pass the environment variables and other things? We'll come and look at the containers or other things later. But at this point of time, we understand the key focus, we'll keep it to this one, service discovery. Environment variables, containers will definitely deal with that, but it's little bit intermediate to advanced, but not in the first session. So you see that app composition, mixing of different projects, and service discovery and connection string management. That we'll not do now, but we'll come back. But definitely we'll be doing this Redis one and .NET Aspire integration. So that means .NET Aspire integration is it has got a lot of those services built in as part of this one. Like if you say you need to add a Redis cache, or you need to add service bus, or do different things. So it's just a NuGet package. So what is happening is you're adding that NuGet, and it registers itself in the DI, and then connection string will be there, and then health check is automatically taken care. And project templates and tooling perspective, you can see that there is something known as service defaults. We'll look at it, what that project is, and we'll be able to see that. It brings up the common concerns like a boilerplate code, which is common. Like if our solution has got 5 projects, maybe one web API, one front end, one worker process, one Blazor app, one MVC app, like give it a 5. So all the cross-cutting concerns, definitely like a health check, telemetry, service discovery, definitely these all things are needed. So everything is getting baked into the service defaults, and all we can say that add service defaults. So by default, it applies to all the projects within that solution. So that's about this one. So let's see the next section is this one. Let me stick to this setup and tooling. So here the setup and tooling, it's a lot, but you can see that .NET 8, you need .NET 8 workload. If you execute this, it will definitely tell that what all the workloads we have. We can copy this and execute this here. When you execute it, you can see this Aspire. It is 8.2 come this 8.0 that's the one, and it's already there, and you can see that from SDK as well as the VS 2017 I have sorry VS 2022, and this version is 17.12. So we have this Aspire template here, and I also have the Docker here, and integration we can do with VS 2022 or VS Code, uh, but we'll be sticking to the game plan of VS 2022 version 17.10. But what do we have? Version 17.12, so which is pretty much this one or higher. We fall on the higher side of that. And here we can go to installer. If you go to installer, you can see this. At that time, it was .NET 8 Aspire SDK preview, but now if you go click on that modify, and here you can see, if you expand Aspire, you can see that it's not it is still showing preview, but you can see this, it's not preview, it's like full. So that's about the from the installation perspective in VS 2022. I just did this. I'm sorry for that. So let me. It's I don't want to execute one more command and destabilize my. Okay, it's doing a little bit faster now. Let's go to the next topic and we'll come back. If it is struck, then we'll wait there, but let's not waste time. We have seen that. Okay, now we'll start building with the Aspire solution. Before going into that, I want to take one to this section. If you see that .NET 8 Aspire project templates, so there are 4 project templates. If you see that, one is .NET Aspire empty app, so which comes with app host, which is an orchestrator, and service default. Service default is resiliency, service discovery, telemetry. I mean, every time I'm pronouncing it, I'm saying that service default or the common concerns, which is applicable for all the projects. And another one is starter application. If you see in the starter application, you have these two, app host and service default. You have orchestrator and service default, and then you have API, and then you have web, and there is a test project also. And you can see that app host, you can have the orchestrator, and you can have the test projects, and service default, something which is common. So 4 different things you can see that here, XUnits and this one. So first what we can do is we can start with this and add web API into that. So that will become the first template here, whatever we are discussing on this one. Okay, orchestration overview. We'll spend 1 minute time on this one, and then we can go and start creating on this one. So here, orchestration is that app model, a collection of resources that make up your distributed application. Okay, the orchestrator, the .NET project that orchestrates our app model, we'll see that. And the resource is independent part, and integration is the NuGet packages or whatever we are having at this point of time. Integration one will come and look at it, because there's already a lot of things packed to be discussed, and references. So if you see that, To define an app model, you can see that we create a distributed application that create this a builder, and then on top of this we'll build an app host project. Will have something like this. This is an app host project. So it has got, this is the third sample which we'll be doing. We'll be having an API, we'll be having a front end, we'll be having a cache, and this is a Redis cache. So it will have a connection string if you're connecting to external. If you are connecting to local Docker, it's just name label will be there. And there are different built-in resource type. We'll be having add uh, project resource. This will be a different .NET Core web apps. We can have container, executable, and parameters. We'll come back to this little later. I do have samples for this one, but I don't want to get into that and confuse you people. This is the one, resources. If you see this, the first one, everything is a resource. Now cache is a resource, and web front end is a resource. And APIs, we can add it, and the containers one we will ignore as of now. Okay, so that's about the orchestration which bundles everything there. So, oh, good, all is well. So let's go ahead and execute that another command. It has given us the control from the tooling perspective. Workload install Aspire. It's already there, but I just wanted to show you all the three commands I executed. So the was, and then I executed workload update, this command, and then I'm installing .NET workload install Aspire. So that's the third command I'm executing, and it says that I'm already up and running with the latest. So there's nothing to do. So this guy has taken more than 20 minutes. I was worried that our demo might go wrong. So we are back on track. So we discussed about this one. So let's start. Let's start with this. We were discussing about the templates. So let's start with this empty app template. Okay. So let me open up the Visual Studio 2022. And I'm going to create a new project. Wow. And you can see one more thing here. .NET list -SDKs. So you see have .NET 6, .NET 7, .NET 8, and .NET 9 release candidate. So next month it will be released, but we are here. So you can see that let's use .NET as .NET Aspire. So you can see that a lot of things are there. There's a starter one and empty app. These are two things which we need to focus on. If it is an empty app, it will have orchestrator and service default. You can see that here. Okay. And if it is starter project, you will have app host, service default, your web API, your front end, and the Redis cache. So let's go ahead with this. We'll see how does it look. So let me grab this one. I'm calling it as sample one, and I'll tag today's date 06010. I'll drop it here, and I'll call it as sample one underscore 06. Okay, let me call this, and let's create. And the long-term one, we are picking up that, and just click on create. We just created an empty app. So we'll see this, what it comes with this. It's just the app host and the service defaults. So we look at it, what is there in the app host, what is there in the service defaults in a minute. Now, if you see that app host has nothing, it creates the distributed application. I think it's bringing the nuggets. Let's wait on that. Okay, all is well. Everything is there. So you can see that's the distributed application, and we are saying that build.run. That's available. Orchestrator, and what is there in the service defaults? That's an extension. If you say add service defaults, it's coming with open telemetry, it's coming with health check, it's coming with service discovery, and also HTTP client defaults. So it's taking care of the resiliency too. We read about that resiliency some time back. So everything is taken care. So if you come and see that open telemetry, so you have all these open telemetry and telemetry exporters. So if you have app settings, application settings of Azure, we can add this over here, and it has got the health check, liveliness. We'll look at it a little later. Like you can see that alive and health, we can go and we'll look at it. I think alive is the one which got hooked up here. See this, alive is the one which got hooked up. Anyways, we can check this. Now, if I execute this, it doesn't have anything. It's just a plain template or a container, but it doesn't have anything to execute. No projects are there inside that. So if you see that, it shows it, and it displays a dashboard. So inside this dashboard, there are no resources because we didn't add anything. We just took a empty container or a shell and we started. I mean, looking at the dashboard, we'll just do a 30,000 foot look, but we'll do deep dive in future sessions. But as of now, just like what is this? We'll look at it. Okay, not too much. I will just look at it. If I have any queries, I don't have any queries, so I'll come back to this one. So now the next point, what we are discussing is we have to create a web solution. So we'll stick to this one. We saw that orchestration and the service defaults. We looked at it. And another thing, what we will be looking at is the launch settings. So let's go and service defaults also we need to look at it. So let me click on that and let me click on this. We'll look at this. So service defaults, here you can see this. The moment you say that service defaults, like you can see the service discovery, health check, open telemetry. We have seen quite a few of those. So the service default project, you can see that that's a library project. We can look at that, double click this one. You can see, if you see the app host, it's an executable type. Now, if you double click on service defaults, you see that that's a library. And you can see that this is there. And you can look at the resiliency, service discovery, telemetry, hosting, .NET Core, HTTP runtime. Quite a few things are coming into the mix, and you can see these things. We have looked at it, and maps to health check and alive. Or we didn't look at that. Just let's go and quickly check those, and then we can check once we add any of those things. We are here, and if I come in and click on live, okay. Oh, sorry. I should have done added the web API and do it this one. I'm sorry, it's my mistake. So that's about the service. This one, service defaults. And another thing is .NET 8 and launch profiles. So you can see this, the launch profiles, everything will be here. So if you want to execute, there are a couple of launch profiles, HTTP and HTTPS. If you want to execute it from the .NET Run perspective, if I come in here, let's spend 1 minute time, and I say sample one. If I say .NET Run, app host. .NET Run. If I'm executing this .NET Run from within this console, so the default profile, what it picks up, most probably it will pick up the first profile which is there. Sometimes if it is HTTP, it will go and pick up the HTTP one. So let's see, it's executing on HTTP. But sometimes what happens is when you execute, it goes and picks up. So in that case, what we have to do is we need to come and execute the command this way. We need to say that .NET Run launch profile HTTPS. That means this profile, whatever it is there inside this properties, we are asking that go and pick it up. So one of the convention which I like is rename the profile with the respective project name. So in this case, if you come and sort the properties, now HTTP is the first profile. Let's come back and execute this one. So see this, as per allow insecure transport, that should be set to true. I didn't set up that, so that's the reason it is failing. But net you can see that it is picking up this one over here. So we can add this and see in the as part of here as part of this one, because it is trying to do the unsecure thing, and let's call it as true. What is that? Application setting must be HTTPS unless as per allow unsecured transport to true. Okay. So now again we'll come back, and if we execute this now, so now you are seeing that that is getting executed on the HTTP. Why? Because the first profile, the first name inside the profile, it will go and execute. So that is the reason whenever you want to execute this, we need to specify what should be the launch profile. So even though the first profile is HTTP, I can specify that go and execute the launch profile. Right now, the launch profile is our project name. So we can take that and put it over here. Now it will not pick up the HTTP one. It will definitely go and pick up the HTTPS one. Here you can see that, the HTTPS one. So this will be useful if you are executing through the command line or through the VS Code. So that's one thing. So I'll just quickly sort these properties. Okay. So that's one thing. Now again, we can come back and we can tell that use this. Now what happens is, even if there are 5-6 projects or more than 2 projects, because definitely these two will be there, app host and service default. Apart from, you might have web API or you might have something else, browser apps, cache, and a lot of these things will be there. So you don't need to worry at all. Now you can see, you can come in here, we can specify add package. Now when you come and click on that add package, so it is giving us a lot of these things, like I can add Redis into this, I can add these things are available. Like you can see, I can add RabbitMQ, Postgres, Node.js, Azure Storage, Application Insight, Service Bus. You can see that a lot of things are coming in day in and day out. So that is how we can add more of those things into this. But let's come back to the documentation, stick to the game plan. We have to create it, but before that, we learned about orchestrator. We learned about the service default, but we will revisit the service defaults. We learned about the launch profiles. Let's start with this web API now. So what I can do is I can right mouse click and click on add new project. And this time I want to create a core ASP.NET Core Web API project, and I click on next, and this will keep it sample dot web API. We'll call that. Okay. Now, when we go next, this is very important. Enlist in .NET Aspire orchestration. That is very, very important. You need to click on that, then it will use this one. Okay. Enlist .NET 8 Aspire project, adding the solution. Okay. This option will be making this API project under the Aspire. So it takes control of this one. And container support I'm not taking as of now. We'll come back to that one. We are adding Swagger and we are using controllers. I mean, it's just a weather controller. We'll not be adding anything because today we are fixing our fundamentals. We are doing a little bit deep dive and find out like who is hooking up what and all those things. I could have saved it prior to this. Initial version, so that way we would have seen the difference. So now anyways, not a problem. Now what happened is previously we came and we saw that there was nothing between the create builder and this one. Now we are seeing something known as sample web API. So now when we were creating this app, we said that enlist in Aspire. So now it's taking this under its control. There's something known as projects. That's the namespace, and you can click on this. Then it will directly take you to that class. So whatever you're seeing here inside the program class, you say add project. So that is this one. You see this add project. So adds a .NET project to the application model. So that means it is taking the responsibility of this particular project under Aspire. We saw that one. And what is that it does apart from that? You can see that it is adding the project reference here. From here, it is adding the project reference. And then we can come back here and click on this. When you click on that, the project, it's just a metadata, nothing else. What do you have inside this class? When you see this, here, projects is a namespace and sample web API. When you come to this one, it's just a metadata. The projects, it's a namespace. And what does it have? It has got the path. Where is this particular project located? That's what it is. Now we can come back and execute it. And this is the first mode we created. We'll execute this one. And now you see our project is up and running. I can click on this. It opens up. And I can go to this weather forecast, try it, and click on try. So we got the weather forecast. And apart from that, live health. Oh, okay. One out of this, I told you, isn't it? I was assuming that live is hooked up. But in the service default, if we go health, this one, all health checks must pass. This one, I think this is hooked up. So it gives us healthy. So that is the health check. We have seen that part of the service defaults. And from the logging perspective also, if we come in here and you can go, you see that whatever the logs are here, and you can have the structured logs, and you can have traces, and you can have metrics. This is serious one metrics, guys. I mean, I like it like anything. It gives us a graph and a table. It has got a wealth of knowledge, like how many connections are there, that there's everything. But it itself is a few weeks worth of content. So, will not be able to discuss or cover within a short period, but at least we had a taste of what is the dashboard. So that's about our first demo, just a web API. At a high level, we looked at the orchestrator, this one, and we saw the nuggets which are available here and all those things. Okay, and I'll close this. What is that? We have given the name sample 0610. I'll close this solution. Now let's go and create a web API and a Blazor project. So let me come back over here. I'll call it as sample 2. Create another project, and this time again I'll go with the Aspire starter project, because empty we have seen that. Now let's see that how to use this. This is sample 2 for the same day, and let me copy this and drop it here and click on, and please ensure that create a new folder should be selected. If not, I faced trouble for 3 to 4 hours. It wasn't allowing me to enlist some of the project. So here it's a .NET 8. We said configure HTTPS. I'm not using Redis. That's the third demo, but at least this is the second demo. If you want test projects, we can create test projects. We have seen in the documentation where it was mentioning that the test projects will be of these 3 categories: MS test, X unit, or N unit. So that same thing you're seeing here in this drop down. So we'll create that in the third demo, but at least let's go ahead and create it. Now let's see some of the things here. Before we do any change, let me create it, call it as an sample 2 initial version. And if you do some changes, at least we know that what is that we changed it. So I'll close this. So this one we have seen already, but time and again we'll revisit this. So here we can see that item group, it has 2 projects included, and that's the 2.1. And the launch profile also we'll go and change it, as we know that we definitely don't want something to be called as HTTPS. Instead, this is more clearer, saying that what is our intention, which project we want to execute it. That's very clear. And you can see here again we are having 2 lines. Previously, when we had API in the first sample, it has got only one line. Apart from this distributed app creation, it has got only 1 line. Now, if you see that here we can see we have the API as well as the front end. And let's execute it. I want to give you some other important points over here before we proceed further. So let's execute it. I think it is restoring the NuGet package. That's the reason it took a little bit time. Okay. This is the dashboard. Now you'll see 2 projects. One is the web, this is the front end. One is the API. Now when you're clicking on this one, you're able to see, because we are in the local development environment. But if you host it to Azure Container Apps, will not be able to see. Why? I'll show you now. Other one, when I go to front end, you can see that the weather forecast, it is pulling in the content from the API weather. How do we know? We can go to the structured logs, and we can see the front end or the traces. Let's go to the traces. You can come to the front end. Here you can see this. We clicked on weather. It went to front end. and from front end it went to the API. So you're getting the entire path from where it traveled. So you know that it from front end it went to the API. It took 2.16 milliseconds, and we can dig deep into the weeds to click on that and see, and again view logs. I mean, it's a wealth of knowledge over here. Okay, so that's one thing. So second thing which I wanted to give you is this one. We already spoke about it. When you click on that, all it does is a project. It has got the path of that, nothing else. And when you come and see this, it is of the type is iResource Builder project resource. That is the type of this API service. And now if you see that with reference, that is what it is accepting. It is accepting something as a parameter, which is of iResource Builder project resource. That means anything. Now this one is also project resource, because this you see that metadata, when it comes to the metadata, all it does is it stores the path of that particular project. But internally, each of lines projects which we added, that is being treated as a resource inside this ASP.NET one. And another thing, if you see that with external endpoints, so marking existing external endpoint is when you deploy that to Azure Container Resources, you'll be able to access it. But in the web API, if you try to access this, you'll not be able to hit it, because it will not enable the ingress. Okay, it will not be able to enable the ingress, so you'll not be able to see that. That we will definitely come back in future session to look at and do a deep dive into that. So that is one thing, and the service default is the same. There's no difference in this one. And we will see that what is that we have it in the API project. So if you go to the API project, it's the same old one, but it is referencing to the service defaults. So everything is related to the related facilities we are getting it. Maybe the resiliency or the logging or whatever it is coming into this one. So you can see this is a minimal API one. It's not a full-fledged controller. You can see that endpoints, map endpoints has been added over here. And you can see one more important point is from this one. From here, we are saying that we have a web API project. It says that this web API project at this point of time is like a resource. It said that with reference, okay, take this guy and reference. So that's where the service discovery and other things are coming into the picture. So at least we'll see that we're adding add service defaults. That means whatever the resiliency, or I'm calling it as a common concerns instead of pronouncing it 4 or 5 words every time. All the common concerns which has been defined inside this service defaults, we are saying that okay, give me all those, and that's it from there. And here you can see we are saying that service defaults, and we are saying here is the client, the HTTP client, and what is happening here is we are saying we are creating adding the HTTP client, and it's not the HTTP client. Internally, it is the HTTP client factory is the guy who resolves this dependency. Okay, that means you'll not run out of sockets or any of those issues we face if it is the HTTP client. Even though we call it as add HTTP client, when it is the strongly typed HTTP client, the internally HTTP client factory is the one which provides or resolves the dependency. So we need to understand that. So here we are saying that API service. So that is what we called it over here. the name. We called it as an API service, and that is what we need to reference with. We're saying that, hey, use the string, that's the base address of this. Okay. And now we'll go, other things are pretty much the same, whatever is coming out of the Blazor project. You can see that that's a Blazor project. And you will have this web root components and all those things. And here is a web API client. And even though you're seeing that it's a simple HTTP client, but internally HTTP client factory is the one who resolves this dependency. And here we are giving the API. Here we are giving the API endpoint, because the base address we already set it up here at the time of the dependency injection container, DI container. When we are doing the DI container, we said that we given the strongly type and we have added the address. And here all we need to do is an endpoint. You can see that URI, the endpoint, and it goes and grabs the content and it brings it to this one. Okay. Now, one thing we need to see that is whenever I'm executing this project, you see that there's nothing which is getting created inside the Docker container. Nothing is getting created inside the Docker container. That's very important. You can see that I'm executing the API. Let's go to the network. Now this is where it goes external. It makes an API call. You can see that it is making a call to weather, and that weather is 5164. So if you see that API is this one. So what is happening here is it made call to 5164 weather. So that means we are coming to this one, and we are hitting this page, weather page over here. Okay, we are hitting this weather page from the Blazor, and inside that you can see that it is using the weather API client, and that guy is going and bringing the content from API. We have seen it is here as part of the dependency injection. Let's go here quickly, validate our theory. Here you got it. See that we made two calls. So if I click on this, so it went front end, and here get weather on the front end. But from front end, it called the weather forecast. You can see that in the client. It made called the weather forecast. So from the browser, we call weather, that's on the front end, and the front end used the client, the self-made client, this one weather API client, and internally it called. So we can see that from our traces. So it took 130 milliseconds for us. You can go in here and you can do a deep dive into that one. Okay, that's about our second demo. Let me close the solution. Let's quickly come back. I'll close all this official documentation, and I'll just keep one or two things over here. Yeah, so we have seen setting up, and we have seen first we have used the default template, empty app template, where you'll have orchestrator and service defaults. Then we included web API at a high level. Whatever we did is 30,000 foot. It's not anything more than that. It's not a deep dive at all. It's just like this is our first step towards the Aspire. It's like we just dipped our toes inside the waters. Okay. So we saw about the orchestration and service default, launch profiles, and then we have created the second solution. It's a combination of API and Blazor. Here we unearthed few other things like how does the service discovery happens and few other things we explored there. Now we'll come, and the dashboard also we looked at to a decent extent. And I mean, time and again we'll come back and we'll look at it, but this time we'll create another project with the web API, Blazor Frontend, and caching. So let's come back to this one and go ahead and create a third sample. Do we have anything? I'll just click on this. So create a new project, and this time let's go with the starter project. Let me call this as sample 3. Okay. And I'll copy this. I mean, this I have given the link, folks, in the previous documentation. In the demo script, you can see at the top, I mentioned it at the source code. I'll check in by tomorrow morning. I'll see that if I need to do some facelift, else I'll do the check-in. So here there'll be a little bit difference. Understand that. So here we are saying that long-term HTTPS. I'm saying that use Redis for caching. Here it clearly says that because it understood that we are using on our local, assumed that it's doing local and requires a container support, whether it's a Docker or Podman or any other container. Here it says that. Okay, Redis for container support. If it is locally, see runtime to run locally. If you have the connection string, you have your Redis hosted somewhere in your cloud or on your local, you can give that connection string. But as of now, we will stick to the game plan. We'll use a local one. You need to see the change over here while we are executing it. See that fun part. That's a serious one. Now let me go and do an initial check-in, and we'll look at it. So sample 3. Sample 3 initial version. That's a sample 3 initial version, and I'm checking in, and then let me copy this and then come back. I mean, this is my personal preference. I don't like HTTPS being shown as here, but instead, here there are 4 projects. But looking at this without getting into the launch profile, I clearly know that what is the startup project, isn't it? Now, this app host, someone can shout at me saying that, hey, Swami, you're clearly seeing that app host is bold. That's a startup project, as I understand. But imagine the HTTPS, it's little confused. So now, this one, which is there in the start, and this one, both names are matching. At least I'm a little bit happy. Maybe I'm satisfying my ego, but somehow I like the project name to be in this one. I mean, it will be helpful. Like if I come in here, and here also there is HTTPS, and then in this web API there is HTTPS, then there is in the app host it is HTTPS. It's a pretty much a confusion. Now it will be pretty good if I am executing this, and if I'm coming to web, and if I'm executing it, I mean, maybe hypothetical reasoning I'm giving, but I'm not sure. But for me, it is very clear whether I'm executing a web API project or a Blazor web app project or a app host project. I'm sure I can get it from here itself, but this gives me more satisfying my ego, nothing else. Okay, jokes apart. Let's see that now what is happening. Anything changed here? No, only these 2. And when we come back here, I think let's execute this for one time so that it start recognizing these projects. At this point of time, it's doing a restoration. Let's see that. Now again, whatever we are learning here, this goes back to the documentation which you have seen at the starting of this one. So the endpoints, you can see that it is saying starting. That means it is coming and pulling the container image from somewhere. If you see that, I think it's bringing in the, let's refresh that. There should be an image, right? Sit running. Let's come to the containers. See that? It wasn't there previously. Now I go and stop this. The moment I stop, it kills the container. Again, when I'm executing that, and now you see this, let's wait. See this, it is creating because we have embedded that inside it. So it is a responsibility. And now you see this is second resource type. When we discussed about the resource type, we saw that project, container, executable, and parameters, the four types of resources. At least we saw that two in today's session. I mean, there are a lot of things for us to dig deep into the weeds, but we'll come back. Now, from the builder perspective, whether you are saying add Redis, but end of the day, what is that? It is a iResource builder resource type. Okay. Now, if you click on Redis resource, you can see that that's of iResource type. Now here, if I come in on this web API, now there's a project resource. Now again, it is of resource type. So whether it is any kind of resource is a resource from this perspective. So this is also a resource, but we are ignoring the out parameter or the value which is coming in. Now, if you see this add project, you can see that that spits the resource type. So now we are saying that for this web front end, you have two resources. You have cache and your web API. So that's getting embedded. That's one thing. And now you can come in here. You see that there's no difference in this one. And API project, if you come and see, there's nothing difference. The only difference is the front end. We'll see that front end. We'll spend 2 minutes before we look at the demo. The web API client is same, and the type of dependency injection, the strongly typed HTTP. It's not a named DI. It's a strongly typed, because this HTTP client is very exclusively for this particular API client class. And we can see that we got a service defaults. We said that add Redis output cache. We got that. We are using it here, but the name, it's matching whatever we injected in the app host here. And here also the names are pretty much same. That's one thing. And another thing is, if you come to the pages and go to weather, and here you see this output cache. So that means the cache duration is 5 seconds. That means, so let's execute this and see the demo. Now see, we are executing it. There's no container, but the moment it spins up, you see the container. Here you can click on that and you can see the logs. And I'll come in here, go to this one, and observe this. I come to the weather. So whatever is data, at least we can see that 4, -4, 11, and 48. Okay, I'll do one more of this one. So 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. See that 4 seconds again. 1, 2, 3. See this. 1, 2, 3, 4. For 5 seconds. For 5 seconds, the data has been cached in the Redis cache. So you can see that even though the server-side calls are happening, but these values were remaining same. You can see that now 1, 2, 3, boom. So that's about it. So let's quickly recap for a minute. So this is a series which I'm starting now. And today we saw about Aspire overview, setup and tooling, and orchestrator, service default, launch profiles, creating our first empty app and adding web API, and then creating startup project with API and Blazor Frontend. Then we spoke about the service default because it's just a first one. And here there are two components or two resources speaking with each other. We need to know about the service discovery. Then to a decent extent, we looked at the dashboard, and then we saw another solution which is of web API, Blazor Frontend, and cache. In this instance, we were using the Docker container. Okay, so I've given my GitHub repo in the link, and also in this documentation, you can see that I have given this source code, and cool. That's it from my side for today, and thanks for joining. Hope you guys have learned something new. Let's catch up in the next session. Thanks. Bye.